My family is from Central Chihuahua, so I was actually born in Chihuahua. My mother's a very intelligent woman. You would be surprised how intelligent she is, but she doesn't have that formal education, that background in school where she could help us with our schooling. She'd sit there with us and try and help us with the homework, but she didn't read English. She didn't, she couldn't help much. But she always told us, try your hardest to, go above and beyond. There was a point where I didn't like school, where I didn't have really good teachers, so that made a big impact where you really don't want to go to school because you don't have any support. Plus there's the racism issue where people don't like foreigners or immigrants. I had a great 5th grade teacher. She was awesome, even though she was not Hispanic, she was always there to help, even though if she didn't know Spanish or anything else, she was always really supportive. And here I am at Northern doing my bachelor's in elementary ed. I wanted to be close to home. My mom's my hero, the person I most admire, and I wanted to be close to her. I'm getting my bilingual endorsement, and I absolutely love that program. I decided to get my bilingual endorsement because I was one of those children in the back of the classroom feeling left out and then not understanding what was being said. I picked up my diploma a couple weeks ago for my associates, and I actually cried when I had it in my hand. Just seeing the words cum laude on there, knowing that all my hard work paid off.
This campus is a respectable place of learning. I was a truck driver, and when the economy slumped and my business went out, the only solution I could see would be to get a good education. And I found this was one of the most economical engineering programs in the country. I was a high school dropout. I only made it to my sophomore year of high school. I hadn't been in school in, 18 years. And I didn't even do well at school to begin with. I had a lot of respect coming back for school. I also had a lot of fear. After the first semester, I had really good grades. I was used to failing things. And here it was, I was getting A's. I didn't always get A's. Things got very tough. Our instructors are very challenging here. But I gave it 100%. I think one of the most monumental moments would be one where I was approaching the end of my associate's degree, and I made an application to UNM, and UNM accepted me. And I looked at their program, and I talked to some of the students that were there. And at the last minute, I decided not to go. I've worked on numerous research projects that at larger universities, more established universities, would only be reserved for graduate students. I was working on large projects with the Los Alamos National Laboratories in my sophomore year. I'll definitely feel sad leaving here. I've seen this school transform so much. I've transformed and the school's transformed. We've transformed together. I've seen a newfound respect for the school and for the faculty. I'm seeing students getting jobs at Los Alamos, offers at Sandia, offers at different places, people transforming their lives. People that I met 3 years ago that didn't know what they were doing now have dreams that they're fulfilling.
I'm from Nambe Pueblo. I was born here and raised here. I lived here the whole 26 years of my life, and I love it here. And I just love being a part of my tribal world and participating in the dances, the feast days, everything. I've been dancing since I was pretty much my whole life. I actually didn't want to go back to school. I just didn't like high school and school in general. I remember for graduation, a lot of my classmates were crying. That was the end. And for me, I was just so happy that school was over. And it felt so good that I got my diploma, and I felt like I was done completely with education. I always thought school was just this thing that I was going to always hate, but college is so much different. I actually learn a lot more in college. It's very different, and I love it. My classes that I'm actually taking, I can apply that to my everyday work, and I can understand what I'm doing more. One of the classes I'm taking at Northern, I mean, the professor, it's just different altogether. I mean, I feel like I'm paid a lot more attention to, and they actually care to teach me. I never felt that before, and it's just really a happy place to be for me. My mother went to school there, and just different cousins, and I've actually got a lot of my cousins, I've influenced them to go back to school, so they're going there too.
I've ended up in college just due to high school, always wanting to learn and knowing that knowledge is power and that it's something that no one can ever take away from you. My grandparents, Arturo and Tony Cisneros, and my mother, Loretta Vasquez, they're willing to support me and help me when times are tough. When I was little, I wasn't a fast learner, and I would have a lot of problems in school, like in second and third grade and fourth grade. I wasn't, I guess, what you could call smart, so I would come home sad because the other kids would be getting better grades than me, and they would be there for me. The day that I realized that I had finally caught up to my peers, I had always been in 1 or 2 lower than the rest of my peers, and finally they told me, oh, you passed the test. And I remember just realizing, oh, finally I can be in a class that I belong in. I've played basketball since I was in 3rd grade. But I realized in my life that I wasn't going to be a pro basketball player. So instead of playing my sports, I decided to put my extra time into my college years to get an early start. I really like anatomy just because I feel like I would like to learn about my body. I live in my body every single day just like everyone else. It's awesome. I love learning about it.
I did intend on going to college until I got the news that, I had a baby on the way, and that just threw a curveball, and I was like, whoa, I'm only 18. I was thinking to myself, at 18 you think you're grown up until you're about to have a baby, and then you're like, wow, maybe I'm not so grown up. I'm like a child getting ready to bring a child into this world. So I actually decided not to go. I wanted to be there for the birth of my son. So I stayed and just started working right out of high school with just a high school diploma. And I mean, it was hard. You couldn't get a good paying job. It's hard to get your foot in the door anywhere. So when I got a second chance, it's just like anybody, when you get your second chance in life, you're not gonna mess it up. It happened out of nowhere. Like one day I'm working for the city of Albuquerque in the Parks and Rec department, and next thing you know, a coach has offered me a scholarship to come play basketball at college and come get an education. It just got me headed in the right direction to start college, and once I got here, I just taken advantage. It's like a real close-knit community and close-knit school. Like everyone knows each other. You actually have a personal interaction with the teacher, and to me, I seem to learn so much better that way, where I'm like, excuse me, professor, can you help me with this? And it's more of a personal, relationship with your professors, and I think it goes a long way. I won an award at the legislature last year for the all-state academic team. So that was cool. They actually awarded me with a scholarship for 2 years to any school in New Mexico, tuition paid. They were going to pay everything. So if I wanted to go to UNM, tuition paid. New Mexico State, tuition paid. But I like Northern so much. I was like, I'm going back to Northern and finishing off my schooling here. Basically, I want to be an example to my son.
I don't know how I came to psychology. It came to me. I was just going to school and absorbing the information, and it was like second nature to me to understand the mind of individuals just as a collective whole, how society thinks. This is me when I was 11 years old, and I was a naughty girl, and my father gave me drugs. This is when I decided to get my life together and get my GED. I looked at those eyes and I was trying to be humble. We have so many people that come from a background of either drug use or parents using drugs, and they have to go through that struggle. And they lose confidence. Having to be my father's parent, because he was a heroin addict, I was taking care of him. I didn't have those normal stages of development. When I came to Northern, I still kind of had that fear wrapped around me that I'm going to be an outsider, I'm not going to really fit in. Even though I grew up in New Mexico and I felt this is where I belonged, people that lived here made me feel like I did not. It was my past taking over my mind, telling me that. So as I got to know people here at Northern, it opened up a door that made me say, I'm here right now, and that's not what's happening. You don't have to fear that anymore, because you are who you are beyond your skin color. I have to give myself some credit. Sometimes we don't give ourselves enough of that credit. We want to give it to somebody else. But ultimately, I made the decision to recognize what was holding me back. And Northern has helped me to break that fear barrier between me and what's out there. And I'm really excited about pursuing and continuing my education here because of that support system. It's like you have a family.
When I was growing up in Tesuque Pueblo, one of the first things that we were told was education was very important. And in order to be able to compete with society, period. From the time I graduated from high school, I took some time out and I looked at other avenues. I joined the United States Marine Corps and I spent 3 years there. I came home and I started a family. With my family, I basically took more time off from school, 27 years to be exact, before I decided it was time for me to come back to school. I came across the Pueblo Indian Studies program and I looked into that further, and when I researched it, I found out that it was a fairly new program and something that I liked it, and I felt that it was going to take me to the next level of my education. I'm 51 years old. I consider myself a sponge. I am interested in whatever I look at. I read, I do pottery, ceramics, traditional costumes, and everything that I do, I try to put myself wholeheartedly into it. The Native American Indigenous Language Conference, which we attended in Connecticut, was something that I didn't feel that I would have ever achieved. It gave me an insight on how other cultures are dealing with their own respective languages, and it made me stand back and look at mine and realize that we do need help. And how do we gain that help? And that help is through our own abilities on what we know, what we have experienced, and what we want to teach. I was a couple of years old, 3 years old, I believe, and I'm standing there with a shovel, shoes, and a diaper, and I've got the handle of the shovel in one hand, and I think I'm reaching up into the sky. It looks like I was grabbing a cloud, but reaching up is the direction that I want it to go. I've done my journey up to this point in time, and I've achieved this much, and I hope to achieve more. Keep reaching for the clouds.